Hi again, everybody. Bill Phillips here. It is the 9-minute Phill-Up, and it is every day at 10 o'clock, every weekday. And the past couple of days, we missed out. We weren't here. Had an off day on Monday, Friday, a bit of an off morning. So I missed you guys. Thanks for being here and supporting us all the time. I have to thank Rich Donnelly, special guest World Series champion here today, Steubenville product. And Rich, it's a day where excited about Major League playoffs starting, but at the same time, Major League Baseball legend Pete Rose, a man that you knew well, he passes at the age of 83, and the legacy he leaves behind. Amazing player. And then the part of the problem that a lot of people try and figure out what to do with it, gambling and being suspended from baseball. But all in all, just an interesting day as we get started for the playoffs.
Yeah, the way I look at Pete, first of all, I can't believe he's gone. Mm-hmm. Second of all, when I saw 83, it hit me. Like, how can he be 83? He was just 22 like an hour ago.
Yeah.
And the thing I like to remember about him is this, that the way he played, first time I saw him back in, I think, 1963, when I was a junior in high school, first time I saw him. But over his career, he influenced over 1,000 or more kids of our generation on how to play the game right. Every kid wanted number 14. Every kid wanted to be like him. Every kid wanted to run over the catcher. Every kid wanted to take out the guy at second. And, of course, everyone that wanted to hit like him. But the thing I'll remember about him most, his intensity, how he played the game, how he respected the game, and how he influenced so many young kids.
And it seems like that intensity was his life. I mean, how he was in everything that he did.
Yeah, he had to have – I always say, Pete liked to gamble at the racetrack also. Mm-hmm. I've been to the racetrack with him a lot. But he had to have action every day. And my theory is he played the game so hard and had to have action. When he got into managing, that wasn't enough action for him. He still had to have action on the side. And unfortunately, he bet on baseball, which was not allowed. But the way he played the game for 22 years – that's the part I like to remember about him.
Now, and the numbers are staggering. I was going through them today, and these are just all-century team. 14 retired by the Reds Hall of Famer. 4,256 hits. 3,215 singles. 3,562 games played. He had 14,053 at-bats. That is 100 of anything is a lot.
It'll never happen again.
No. And how about this? Career plate appearances. 15,890. Because you're not counting the walks.
Right. Correct.
And, if anybody's out there going, wait a minute, well, that doesn't make any sense. The at-bats, and it's the walks and things like that. And then 3-time world champion, 75, 76, and 80. MVP in 73, Rookie of the Year in 63, a hits leader all time, 17-time All-Star, won 2 Gold Gloves, and he's a 3-time batting champion. Final numbers 303, 4, 2, 5, 6 in hits, 180 home runs. Yeah. So a little bit of pop. Yeah. That's some pop. And was it 1,314 RBIs?
The thing I saw an interview, I was reading this morning or saw an interview last night. He was so proud of being the hit leader, but he was also, and he went and looked this up, and they verified it. He played in more winning games than any player in Major League history. He went back and looked it up, and I think he would want to be remembered as a winner. All his teams, like you say, the Big Red Machine, he went to Philly, changed their whole attitude, and they won a world championship. And just the way he played, he was a winner. He wanted to win the game. And
Fosse found out in the All-Star game.
He didn't care if it was, I've seen Pete play in exhibition games in Tampa, Florida, where, hey, he played the exhibition games like it was the 7th game of the World Series. Didn't matter to him. The story I tell about him, his dad was a tough guy. And Pete played football in high school. And once he called for a fair catch, well, when he got home that night, his dad beat him up. He says roses don't signal for fair catches. So that's how he was brought up. He was brought up in the Western Hills area of Cincinnati, a great baseball area, but tough. And Pete wasn't a big star coming out of high school, but he was tough. He worked his way through the minor leagues, and his manager was Sparky Anderson, who became his manager later. But he did it the hard way. He came through the minor leagues. Like I say, he wasn't 6'3", 220. He was probably 5'10", maybe 180 pounds. But the way he played the game and the way he looked gave hope to every kid that you don't have to be 6'5", 6'6", 220 to be a big league player. So he gave hope to, like I say, generations of kids.
And you mentioned before, you played with the number 14 because of him.
I did. I got number 14 when I played Legion ball, and when I played basketball at Central. I wore number 14. I wanted to be like Pete. Everybody did. I mean, I remember the first time I saw him, I was at, there was a gas station out on Lover's Lane where I used to hang out, Duke's gas station. And they used to have the games up on the TV. And I walked in one day and they said, Pete Rose. And I said, who's this guy? And I saw him get a walk and sprint to first base. And I went, what is that? Who sprints to first base? Well, I thought that was like a one-time thing. No, he did it every single time. And if you look around the area and all the games like I played in, Little League, whatever, babe, all the kids would start running to first on a walk. So he made everybody hustle. And of course, his nickname was Charlie Hustle. Whitey Ford gave him that. And that's the way he played the game. And he had all these kids in Legion ball, high school ball, Little League, Babe Ruth League. He had them all playing just like that.
Well, in the Whitey Ford comment on Charlie Hustle, he kind of meant it as a dig, a little bit of a joke.
Yeah, was making fun of him.
And Pete was like, "Oh, I kind of like that.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
Now you also told me he'd have been perfect for Steubenville.
Oh, he was a dirtball. I mean, he liked to gamble, so that fits right in. And like I say, he was a tough guy. He probably got in some scraps here. And in fact, he did. I know he was playing against the Mets one time, and he slid into Bud Harrelson, my good friend, and they got into a fight at second base.
During a playoff game.
Yeah, in a playoff game. But Pete, that was Pete. He was playing to win.
Yep.
He came to the ballpark every day to beat your butt, every single day for 22 years. And he did it prior to getting to the big league. So it wasn't something like he invented. I'm told going back to high school, football, basketball, whatever, he was the same way in high school.
What was it like the first time you met him on a ball field, whether it be spring training, major? What was it like?
I just couldn't stop staring at him because he was like a god to us kids. And all of a sudden you see him on the field. And then as a manager, I got to know him pretty well. He used to come into Jim Leland's office and ask Jim for advice on how to manage. And Jim and I would just stare at him like, that's Pete Rose. That's really Pete Rose. I mean, he was that far up on the cloud. Yeah. He was way up on that pedestal.
Yeah.
And just amazing. And when we saw him, we went, I remember he walked out of the room. Jim goes, hell, he ain't that big. And he wasn't 6'3". He was 5'10", 5'9". But the reason why everybody connected,
but it looked like he was built like a fire plug.
He was, but he was built like most of us kids.
Yeah.
Just, not 6'6", just normal. He looked like a normal guy, dirtball, played hard, and he would have fit right into the Steubenville mentality.
So he comes in, he's looking for, some advice. How difficult do you think it was? Because I hear stories about Ted Williams trying to be a manager and really struggling because he was so great.
Yeah.
He would watch guys take batting practice and go, what are you doing?
How come you can't hit?
How difficult do you think it was for Pete to manage when, all times hit? Just do what I did.
Pete, the way he played the game, he probably expected every player to play like him. Well, it ain't going to happen because he was a 1 in a million to do that. Some guys, they hustle. Some guys, they don't once in a while. Pete, every single day, every game, every year, he played the game like it was his last game on earth. And he had a hard time. He even told Jim, he said, I have a hard time with guys who don't put 100% in every night. He said, I have a hard time with guys who want to take a day off. I have a hard time with guys who say it's too hot to play. It's too cold to play. It didn't matter to Pete. And that's the influence that he had over us young kids. No excuses. Play 100% no matter what. No excuses. If you mess up, you mess up. You keep on going. And Pete said 100 times. He said, I got 4,000 hits, but I made 10,000 outs. He said.
That's the thing about baseball.
Yeah. But but he gave all of us kids hope.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you saw him in person, God, you just kept staring at him like he was a saint, like he'd come out of the heavens.
Well, I have to mention, you mentioned that he's, making mistakes. He finally admitted, that it's on me. I made the mistake. It was my mistake. But the horse was already at the barn in terms of his suspension from Major League Baseball. And, we were talking about it before. There's a sign, and I've seen it going into a Major League clubhouse. You see the sign, no gambling on baseball. It's one of the, and that's the rub with everything, where people are like, this guy he's a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
He's got more memorabilia. He was more memorabilia in the Hall of Fame from him than anybody else. But, and from what I understand now, it's actually baseball's not necessarily keeping him out. It's the Hall of Fame. They changed their rules to keep him out and go hand in hand with Major League Baseball. Just your thoughts on, him not being in the Hall of Fame, and I'm not asking you to go here or anything, but you hear people talk about Barry Bonds. Well, before he went to San Francisco and started to allegedly take the steroids and all that stuff, he's a Hall of Famer. Pete's a Hall of Famer before he becomes a manager. And there's one comment that Colin Cowherd made on the radio, national broadcaster, and this was a number of years ago. He said, "It's the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of, okay, I put a lot of numbers into it. If you put Pete Rose, Bonds, Roger Clemens, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, I mean, these are guys that put numbers up that are,
Bill, having spent over 50 years in pro ball, 30 in the big leagues, I think I have a more appreciative view of what these guys did, because how hard it is. You're competing against the best players in the world, and whether he gets in or not, same with Bonzi, same with Roger, I'll always remember those guys as what they did on the field. They were unbelievable what they did on the field, and nothing, whether they go in or not, will ever diminish what they did. I mean, Pete getting to 4,000 hits, Bonzi getting to 700 home runs. It's so hard at that level to play and just exist. And these guys excelled. And the thing I like about Pete, especially, he played every game.
Yeah.
He never was on, I don't think he was on a disabled list. If he had a broken arm, he'd play one arm. But what he did on the field, that's what I'll always remember about him. I mean, you can't forget him. You always see him sliding into knocking Ray Fosse over. You always see him sliding into second, belly flopping into third base.
Well, they had a great shot on Sports Illustrated's cover, the one you're going into third base, and he's just stretched out in the air going in.
We all tried to do that, and I remember, I think in Babe Ruth League, I tried to head first slide into third, and I come up about 10 feet short. But I mean, but we all wanted to be like him because he looked like Superman when he dove. All he needed was a cape. Yeah. But I'll always remember, no matter what happens with the Hall of Fame, I'm going to always remember Pete Rose and how he played the game.
And Pete Rose, we got to check in. Let's see. Couple comments. Very nice to me when I was a minor league trainer for the Pirates. Jim and Ray Miller were great to me when they found out I was from the Valley. All right. Let's see. Brian, put them in. So if I would imagine if you had a vote today, it wouldn't even be.
No, I go by what they did on the field, because I'm so appreciative of how hard it was at that level. And
I think the Colin Cowherd comment, I don't know why, it rings true to me. Yeah. It's the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
If there are a number of Hall of Famers in
it's
Hall
fame.
of Fames, if you say their names, people go, huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
For some of them, they're not even going to know who you're talking about. But then all of a sudden, Pete Rose, all-time hit leader. Barry Bonds, he's amazing.
That will never change.
Yeah.
In our lifetime, we'll never see it again. Guys aren't going to get 200 hits for 22 years. Ain't going to happen.
Yeah. No, and the thing is, and this is a name that I know, in baseball, people know, but the average fan, Harmon Killebrew.
Right.
People you might remember it because of the names a little bit different. But you're not remembering Harmon Killebrew when he's not even on the same level. And nothing. And I've met him.
And he had 500 home runs.
Yeah, I met him, and he actually signed a baseball for me, the All-Star game, which you got me a couple autographs. And I remember Tony Gwynn, God rest his soul, he was a Hall of Famer. I remember he said, let me see your pass. I need to see that ball. And now he's the last guy in the locker room because you're not supposed to have that ball. And I thought, oh no. And he was messing with me. He gave it back and the whole thing. Right now we're going to take a quick time out because Valley Converting. Oh, we have to move this down to be able to show off Valley Converting. Valley Converting, the crew up in T-Town. The crew up in the gem city of Toronto, Mike Biasi and the crew. They always get it done for you, recycling projects. So let's hear from them now.
Every piece of paper has a story. What if that story didn't end when you were done with it?
At Valley Converting, we turn your old paper products into recycled paperboard, continuing the story.
Locally owned and operated in Toronto, Ohio, bringing your paper to Valley Converting isn't just about recycling.
It's about supporting a cleaner, greener future for all of us.
We are here 5 days a week to help you make some green by going green.
And remember,
recycle for your future.
I just thought of something. James Earl Jones, who passed recently, was in the Field of Dreams. And he said, he gives that speech in the Field of Dreams where he says, it's baseball, Ray. It's baseball that's rebuilt America every time. And it's like a steamroller that shows. Yeah. That's what Pete Rose was. If you really think about his career in terms of where's that one play where, Bo Jackson runs to the wall or there's a great throw. It's just consistently every night. You just put the numbers up.
All of us get some time on this earth. And when you can be on the earth and influence in a positive way so many good people, that's what Pete did. And guys like me and you that came up watching him, we'll always remember that. We'll pass it on to our kids and our grandkids. How about Pete Rose? What kind of player he was? They probably won't even care that he bet on a game.
Yeah.
But
everybody bets on everything
saying,
now.
Now it's one of the sponsors of Major League Baseball. But what Pete did by his example, I think that trumps everything, and that's what people are always going to remember him for.
Pete Rose, part of the Big Red Machine. Are they the Big Red Machine without Pete Rose? And the Phillies of 1980, when he goes there, changed the dynamic. Do they win a world title?
Well, I talked to two players, one on each team, Steve Carlton for the Phillies and Tony Perez. Worked with Tony when I was in Florida. Both of them said the pilot of that team, of those teams, the guy that made those teams go was Pete. He wouldn't let you take a day off. He wouldn't let you play a game where you didn't give 100%. He made sure that you were going to play 100%. And whether it was by verbal or the way he played, just everything he did. He came to the ballpark. Like I say, he came to the ballpark every day with one thing in mind, to beat your butt every single day. And he transferred that to all the players that he played with the Reds, with the Phillies. Your answer, if Pete Rose isn't on that team, the Big Red Machine aren't the Big Red Machine. All
right. Now, and you mentioned the horse track with him. Was he pretty good at the horse track?
He was pretty good. Yeah. He was one day, and I tell this story. He was at Calder racetrack, and I'm coaching with the Marlins, and Jim Leland, we used to go to the track a little bit. So we're over there one day, and I'm over in the corner. Jim had to go somewhere, and the maitre d' comes over. He was from Boardman, Ohio, and he said, "Hey, Rich, Pete wants you to come over and have lunch with him." I went, "Me? Pete Rose?" I went over. I was just thrilled. Well, I was watching Pete bet, and he had to run. He had to go do a radio show. So he left, and his losing tickets were on the table where I was eating. And I was trying to eat my lunch, but after I saw these tickets, I almost threw up. He had $1,000 to win on like 6 horses. And he had like $500 exactas. And I'm going, cripe. I added it all up. It was like, he bet $12,000 on one race. That was more than I was making. But no, he had to have action every day, dog track, horse track. And then I think in the end, managing was not enough action for him. He had to have other action, and that's why he did it.
And one of the things in a documentary I recently saw, he always had the collars of his dress shirt. So one said "Hit King," one had number 14. He made a point of letting everybody know.
No human being on earth was as proud of who he was as Pete Rose. And if you didn't know, he would tell you.
His son Pete Jr. said that he was at a mall doing a signing or something like that, and they saw a batting cage down at the end of the mall. And he said, "Let's go." And he went, "Oh no, here we go. He's going to get in that cage." And he picks up a bat, cranks it up as high as they can turn it, which is about 89 miles an hour. He gets in, and his son says, "Whack, whack." Two line drives right back up the middle, and he went, "Still got it." And he may have used an expletive in there, but he just walked out.
When you can make something that hard look so easy, And that's what he did every night. I
Yeah.
mean, we'd go watch him when I was at Xavier. We'd go down to Crosley Field, watch him every night. He'd get 3 or 4 hits, and we like, how's he do that? Right-handed, left-handed.
Yeah.
Didn't matter who was pitching.
It has to be the
Best
best
switch hitter of all
yeah.
time. Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is, he had some pop.
Oh, he had some
108
home runs.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. But he was
Just-
a winner. He was
yeah,
a winner.
that was all he cared about.
Like he-
And from looking at it
Right.
from
Yeah.
growing up in Connecticut. So I'm a long way away from Ohio, but my next door
Yeah.
neighbor was from Dayton. And did I hear about the Big Red Machine? And I got to the point where I was like, you know what? If I got to hear about Pete
Well, I
Rose
saw
and
him-
Johnny Bench,
They tried to interview him one night across after the Reds game. The Reds lost,
Mhm.
and he got 4 hits.
he didn't want to hear. I
He-
can
and he
imagine.
didn't want to talk about the 4 hits at
Yeah.
all. He said, "It doesn't matter. We lost. It don't matter." He said, "This day's a loss. Tomorrow
Yep.
we got to win." And
Absolutely.
that's, he was just a grinder, man. He was a grinder.
But and the thing is, you see greatness, and Jordan, producer extraordinaire, she's great at her job and making sure the 9-minute Phill-Up's going and everything she does. But when you look at sports, and I tell everybody, you know, if you have an opportunity to watch this game or have an opportunity to watch this player, even if you don't like the player because they're on a different team, appreciate the greatness that is ahead of you
Yeah.
because you don't see that all the time. You're not going to see a guy get 4,000 hits. And it takes years and years and years, but the hustle and everything else.
My dad used to take me to the Ringling Brothers Barlow and Bailey Circus in Madison Square Garden all the time for vacation. And I used to watch the people, especially on the tightrope.
Mhm.
And I go, how do they do that? He says, why do you think the people like the circus? I don't know. He says, people at the circus can do things that nobody in the world can do.
Yeah.
Well, Major League Baseball. Guys can hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball or throw one
Yeah.
or catch one. No one else in the world can
Yeah.
do that. NBA, they could jump, dunk, whatever. Football, they throw the ball 60 yards. When you see somebody, especially in sports,
Mhm.
do things that no one else in the world can do, it attracts your attention.
Yeah.
And Pete, oh man, he could like 4,200 hits. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? If you have 2,000 now,
Yeah.
Kutch got 2,000. They raved about it. Well,
Yeah.
he's 2,200 short of Pete.
Well, and do the math.
Yeah.
200 hits doesn't happen very
No.
often a season.
No.
He went 10 seasons of
Yeah.
200 hits. It's 2,000. He's still got to get another 2,000.
Tony
how many?
Perez told me one time, most guys, when they get 2 hits, their third and fourth at bat, there's no concentration. They got
Mhm.
their 2 hits. Pete would get 2. Now I can get 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how, and he did. I bet he had more multi-hit games than anybody who ever lived.
I'm just going to say this. Perez may have locked in a little bit on those RBI
Oh,
opportunities.
1,600 of them. Yeah. And Pete was on first
Yeah.
or second on half the time.
Pete, you
yeah.
get on, I'll drive you
yeah.
in. Let's
and
go.
Yeah, it worked.
Oh, that's good stuff. Well, we're gonna just a final thought on Pete Rose. I want to talk a little bit about Major League Baseball. I know we're probably, I don't know how long have we gone, Jordan?
24 minutes.
All right, we're 24 minutes, and so we're just getting started on the 9-minute Phill-Up.
Yeah.
This is we've got some comments we have to check out, Rich. We always go to the comments, and let's see, we've got. All right, whoops. Teresa, as a family, we would watch the Reds and we would all get a chuckle when Pete would run to first base like he was going into second base. Haha. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Marion Perkins watching. Marion, thank you for checking in. Greatly appreciate it. Anytime you want to check in, anytime you guys want to share if you guys have a question for Rich, please, ask it. Anything you guys want to talk about, we're willing to talk about it. And, and this might be a good one. I just thought of it. I don't know why I thought of it. But, maybe your favorite hot dog out of all the ballparks that you've been to.
No.
So imagine you had to have a
Dodger
few.
dog.
Dodger, is that the best one?
Yeah, I ate about 3 of them before every game.
But it's not even close.
Not even close.
Really?
Dodger dogs, I don't know how they make them, but I'll tell you what, you can't eat one. You got to eat 2 or 3. Oh, yeah.
No, I've been to PNC.
After BP every day, we'd send a clubhouse guy to the concession stand.
And you get Dodger dogs.
Give me 3 Dodger dogs with mustard. Oh, yeah. Did it every day.
All right. Well, that answers that question. All right. So don't ask about hot dogs. It's just Dodger dogs. But I've heard that, and that's one of the that's a place where I'd love Chavez Ravine. We'd love to go there,
Yeah.
see a ball game, and have a Dodger dog.
Yeah,
That's
can't
all
beat
you
it.
hear about.
Can't beat it.
Okay. All right. Well, that answered that pretty quickly. I thought there would be a little debate.
No.
But no.
Dodger dogs.
Let's see. While we have you here, can you tell us how long do you think a team should keep a manager when it's losing? I have a feeling that's maybe a Pirates question.
That sounds like one. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes the players aren't good enough. You could have Jim Leland there.
Mhm.
Everybody forgets Jim's the greatest manager I've ever seen in my life, work with him. He was on 2 teams that almost lost 100 games. Same manager as he was when they had the good teams.
Yeah.
So, like the great player Ozzie Guillen said, you can't ride a mule in the Kentucky Derby and win. You have to have the horses. So it's a little bit of both ways. So if you don't have the horses, it's going to be tough to win. So it has to be a combination, just like the horse races.
Yeah.
You have to have a good horse and a good jockey.
Yep.
Baseball, you have to have good players and a good manager.
Yep.
And if you don't have the combo, you ain't winning.
It goes for any sport. If you have great players, you're going to be a better coach.
Yeah. You aren't going to win a championship with bad players and a good manager, and vice versa.
The better players can almost overcome a bad manager.
Yes, they can. Yeah, you got to have players. Yeah. You ask any manager who's won, and they'll all give credit to the players. So
the some final thoughts on Pete Rose before we move into talking about the Major League Baseball.
I just
playoffs.
like, and from a personal view, I know what I'm going to always remember Pete as. He changed the way I played baseball. I was a catcher. He made me he made me run down to first base, and he never told me. He showed me. He made me run my butt off to back up throws from shortstop. And when I got signed, I got drafted by the Yankees. I got signed by the Twins. That's one of the first things they told me. They said, "Man, you hustle your butt off." And I said, "Well, that's from Pete." And I like people to remember Pete for what he did on the field, because that's when you say his name. I don't think you think of, well, he bet on games. You think of 4,200 hits. You think of how he played the game. And I would hope that people remember him for what he did and what a great example he was on the field for all the youth of our generation.
How much of an advantage was it growing up in Ohio and having an opportunity to see him more than anybody else around the country?
Exactly. I know I've talked to people who, when the great Willie Mays went to California, you never saw him because the games were never on. Back here, the Pirates played the Reds almost every year. And then when I was little, I could get WLW on my radio at night, like at 9:30, and listen to the Reds games. And I became sort of a Reds fan. Then I switched over to the Pirates, But I said, because of WLW, you could get that station at night and listen to a guy named Wade Hoyt used to do the games. And it was like 9 o'clock, and you'd hear static, and you could hear him talking about Pete Rose and blah, blah, blah. But being the Pirates and the Reds played playoffs every year. So you got to see Pete and the Big Red Machine a lot.
All right. So Pete Rose, God rest his soul as he passes at the age of 83, left an amazing legacy behind. Good, the bad, like all of us.
Think of the good stuff he did. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody can throw dirt on him.
Yeah.
I said, but think of the good things he did and how he influenced so many young people in our generation.
Yeah. It's you don't build yourself up by kicking someone.
No.
There's no point.
No, I'll always remember him for the way he played and the great example, like I said, he set for us kids.
But I am going to kick some dirt on Major League Baseball.
Okay.
But they finally got it right. The All-Star jerseys the last few years.
Thank you.
Horrific.
That's great.
Just terrible.
Well, they try to make them and they look like circus.
I watched the game this year and I thought, what are they wearing?
What are they wearing? Yeah.
This is awful.
We're the team that you represent.
Exactly. And so they changed it.
And
they're going back.
That's
they're going back. So
Good
I wanted
job.
to bring that up. So I'm glad you
Good job.
because the thing was, when I was a kid, that was the biggest thing watching the All-Star game was my favorite
seeing your
thing.
team with a shirt on.
Yeah, my
your
favorite
player.
Yeah, my favorite thing was when they'd come out, they do the introduction.
Oh yeah.
Because then you see all the uniforms and they're all right there.
Oh yeah.
And then if your team was the home team, it was always kind of fun to hear the boos for the away team, just for fun. I mean, the players, you're like, they're booing Willie Mays.
Yeah.
How do you do that? But the uniform thing was just tragic.
That's great.
So I'm glad
they were getting
it.
out of hand.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so here we go. We've got the Major League Baseball playoffs. Now, I'm not real bright. I'm going to admit that. I'm just, I wrote the games down. I said I'll start with the National League games. And then I realized, well, wait, the National League games are the later games, so I should have started with the American League games. Algebra class didn't go well. All right, so we'll start, even though I wrote them down in reverse order, we'll start with American League wildcard round. Tigers 86 and 76, Houston Astros 88 and 73. Valdez going for the Astros today at 15 and 7. Houston 4-2 against Detroit over the course. And AJ Hinch
Former manager.
Speak of someone that did some stuff.
Don't be banging on the barrels in the dugout, right?
Well, they won a World Series with him.
Yeah,
and they didn't take it away.
Yeah.
But he's back in the playoffs. So congratulations to him for, I don't know if he's rehabbed his what some people just think, well, that was just wrong. And
he's a good manager.
Yeah, you don't keep going to the playoffs.
He's
if
a good
you're not.
manager.
Yeah. So Tigers. At 2:30 this afternoon. If you're looking to watch it, it's on ABC at 2:30 this afternoon. Tigers in Houston. How do you break down this matchup?
I'm taking the Stros. Stros came from the dead. Everybody doesn't realize this, but I checked it out. In April, they were 11 games out. 11 games out, buried for dead. They were going to fire everybody.
Yeah.
They're going to fire Joe Espada, the manager. Well, guess what? They fought their way back, and I think they won the division by 5 or 6 games.
Yeah.
I'm picking them in this series.
What do you like about Detroit, though? I mean, they finally, they really go in some long stretches where they're not very good, and then all of a sudden, for a few years, they get it back together.
They got some young pitchers that are really good. First time in the playoffs, they're going to face a veteran team with what an offense they got, and they got some good. Houston's been there 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Houston.
All right, now a quick question, because at some point I want to try and go to all the major league ballparks. Now, National Football League, I've gone a bunch covering the Steelers, been to most of them. The new Tiger Stadium. Love the old Tiger Stadium, but the new Tiger Stadium, and is it still Minute Maid Field? Is that what they still call it down in Houston?
I think so, yeah.
So, if you had to rate the ballparks, where would you go?
Well, the one, my favorite parks, and it's because of the crowds, St. Louis.
Okay, Rich, don't get off topic. We're doing the matchup Detroit and Houston.
Detroit and Houston?
Yeah, which one? Houston. You like the ballpark better than Houston?
Houston ballpark I don't like. Okay. I'll tell you why. Because it's indoor.
Okay, yeah.
And if it's going to rain, they close the roof. And if they close the roof, the humidity is like 140. Oof. So it's like playing in a microwave. Yeah. And so I don't like it.
Detroit, I think like I like the strip that comes from the mound to home plate.
Oh yeah, they put that dirt like the old time.
Yeah, I like that.
And they got the big tiger in left center.
They got tigers all over that ballpark.
And now they got Jim Leland on the Hall of Fame out there in left field.
Can't get any better than that. No, absolutely not. All right, so you're going with Houston.
Yeah.
All right, so then the other American League game at 4:00 on ESPN2, Kansas City Royals. Now that I've never been in the ballpark, I've been outside it and could see it from outside, taking on the Baltimore Orioles, and the Orioles 91-71, Kansas City 86-76. Let's see, Orioles 4-2 this year against the Royals. I would imagine you're going with Baltimore.
Well, I think Baltimore probably should win, but with Paul Hoover from Steubenville, bench coach, Paul. I'm rooting for Paul. But
absolutely,
I think the Orioles, they've been up and down, but boy, they got some players. Yeah. So I think it's going to be tough for Kansas City to beat them.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm rooting for Paul and the Royals.
Yeah, I remember covering Paul back in high school, and then when the minor leagues. I remember one time I was really agitated with Travis Fryman because he blew us off for an interview. He kept saying, "Yeah, I'll be out. I'll be out. I'll be out." So we went to see Paul, and just down the road, and I said, "Paul, do me a favor. Do every media guy a favor. If you don't want to talk, just say no."
Just say no.
I said,
"Don't tell him
I'm a big boy," but he was like, "You seem like you're agitated." I said, "Oh, we were waiting." It was just like, just say no. We're okay with that. It's all good. But yeah, I'll tell you what. When's he going to become a manager? He is shortly. He's really good.
He's very well thought of, and I think there's going to be some managerial openings this year, probably 4 or 5, and if not this year, I think soon. He's very well thought of, and I think somebody's going to give him a chance. He's been with winning organizations now, Tampa. Yeah, and that's the best thing to get a job as a manager.
If you're around winners,
be with a winning organization, and you'll get some interviews.
Hopefully that would break for him. And wish him well. And I have a big Kansas City Royal friend, a good friend of mine that worked to be at PXI. So I'll be rooting for the Royals because he was all worried about it 3 weeks ago that they weren't going to make it in, but they made it. All right, so let's go to the National League. Well, first, the doubleheader yesterday was it just. I remember they had to finish the season. Mm-hmm. So. What your thoughts on that? How would if you were in the dugout or in the in the manager's seat? How do you approach that in terms of where you're going to go, what you're going to do with your pitchers?
Well, I'm one of those guys who I'm not saving anybody for tomorrow.
Yeah,
I got to get in. And one of the Mets and the Braves, each one of them had to win a game.
Mm-hmm.
So you put your best crew on the field. The Mets won the first game, so the second game didn't matter to them, but it mattered to Atlanta. And they won. They got in. So you don't save anybody. You go full
Full tilt,
throttle,
yeah.
and don't worry about Tuesday, the playoff game. Worry about getting in, because if you save a guy, you're liable to be on Tuesday. You'll be home watching the game with your buddy that you were saving.
All right, Ron, check back in with us on go to Dodger Stadium, just not on bobblehead day. Did you see the bobblehead footage when Ohtani had bobblehead day? They had lines all around.
I can imagine.
Unbelievable. Well, not that I want to stop talking about the playoffs, but Ohtani, the season that he's had, is he the best you've ever seen all around?
Yeah, pitching. I mean, he didn't even pitch this year, and he's still the best.
Yeah,
he's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal athlete. When I was with Team USA, about 4 years ago, we played Japan, and right before the game, their interpreter came over and was talking. And I said, "How's your team?" He goes, "Yeah, we're okay. We got a nice team, but the big boy ain't here." And at that time, no one knew who the big boy was. Yeah. It was him. Yeah. He was hurt. So he's probably MVP, and he's doing things that 50-50 no one else has ever done.
Yeah, and I mean they compare him to Ruth on a lot of things, but he's starting to pass up. So and that's saying something.
I never thought we'd see a guy hit 50 home runs and pitch and steal 50 bases.
It's
never,
amazing.
Ever.
Now, do you think they would throw him in the playoffs?
No.
Okay.
He hadn't pitched all year.
You can wait till next year.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, you damage that arm. All right. So anyway, the Mets, after the doubleheader yesterday, Mets go to Milwaukee. They just played in Milwaukee. They were 0-5 against the Brewers until Sunday when they got a win. So the Brewers at home 93-69, and that's on 5:30 on ESPN against the Mets 89-73. And they've got it's a matchup that they just went through. How difficult is that? Did you ever have that situation?
Yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to. It's like in football, play the team twice during the year. You can ask any coach that second time. I don't care if you beat them 40-0. You don't really want to play them.
Yeah.
But the Brewers probably will be favored. But I got too many of my former players on the Mets that I'm rooting for: Frankie Alvarez, Brandon Nimmo, all good kids, and they fought their way to get there.
Yeah.
So
they were 22-33 at the end of May.
I said they got off to a bad start, but they fought their way back. So like I say, they're a bunch of dirt balls just fighting their way through, and I'm pulling for the Mets, but I think the Brewers have an advantage with their pitching.
And the great thing is, you say dirt balls, and I know you mean it affectionately, and as some people might go, "Let's call them dirt balls." It's just,
you play like Pete Rose does. That's all.
That's it. All right. So then Atlanta, they get to make the trip to San Diego. San Diego 93-69. That's a solid season. That's at 8:30 tonight on ESPN. King is going to go for San Diego. He's 13-9. Padres 4-3 versus Atlanta this season. So this is a tight matchup.
It's going to be good. Padres have a real good offense, but Atlanta is missing Chris Sale for the opener. There's Cy Young, probably award winner. He has back spasms. He may not pitch in the whole series. So he's like a guaranteed win if he pitches. Well, he ain't going to pitch. So I'm gonna favor Padres in their offense.
All right. So what I think we're talking about is another guest appearance on Friday before the next round starts.
Oh,
so we can talk about the divisional series. I think we can do it. It's our own playoff.
About 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. See, here's the deal, Rich. I get started. Next thing I know, usually I'm here by myself.
My wife,
go 30 minutes.
She said, "How long are you going to be?" I said, "I don't know, about a half hour." She says, "Well, can you be like 3 hours and stay out of the house?"
We can
stay out.
Jordan, we good to keep it for another couple hours.
I think Jordan got to go to lunch though.
Probably. She's like, we need to get a show on for midday. Let's see, Ron. Okay, bobblehead day. Ron, let's see what Ron has one last time. I think Playoffs TV should let the home team announcers call the games. They've earned it also. Yeah. Well, the radio guys get to do the games.
I miss back in the day. Bob Prince was, grew up with Bob Prince. The gunner. Yeah. And then we got into playoffs. The gunner wasn't doing our games, and it was like it wasn't our team anymore. Yeah. It was like a national team. They had on Kurt Gowdy or somebody that didn't know who Roberto Clemente was or something.
Yeah.
But I sort of agree with him, but it's all money.
It's all money. It's all TV contracts and everything. Well, Rich, I can't thank you enough for coming in today. I thought about it last night about the playoffs, and then when I saw that Pete Rose had passed, I was definitely going to reach out and just see if I could get your thoughts on it. And I'm glad I did, because And I know that there's other stories we talked about off air that, you know, it's just, there's so many of them that it's just, it's one of those things, like I said, and I said a lot of that with the Olympics. You get to witness it. You get greatness. It's right in front of you. You know, and there's a lot of good lines in the Field of Dreams. And they're talking to Moonlight Graham. Yeah. And he said, "Are you the man that can, you know," he goes, "A lot of people don't realize that your greatest opportunity might have brushed by you in a crowd, like, and you don't even realize it." Know. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where you see Pete Rose, you have a World Series championship. Yeah. I mean, and you saw it up close, and you're a part of the reason, you know, for that World Championship, and you had a front row seat.
Yeah, like I said, with Pete and with anybody in the big leagues, I like I say, I was in third base coaching box for all those years, and every night I just shake my head and I go, "How good are these guys? Yeah. They're unbelievable. They're doing things that are impossible." Yeah. You know, even back, I mean, they're hitting balls 500 feet. I mean, 500 feet around here, the balls would be out in the street or something, you know. And I just have a great appreciation of how hard it is to play that game.
We're done at spring training, talking to Jim Tredenich, who I know you know well, and we were talking about third base, and we were just watching. I can't remember who we were watching, but they were taking ground balls and everything. And he said, "I don't know how the scorekeepers give third baseman an error on anything, because it's a rocket.
It's a rocket right on top of it.
I mean, you're 90 feet away, if not closer,
and it's quick."
That just reminded me of an image of Pete Rose in the World Series against the Yankees in '77. Mickey Rivers. He took the bunt right away from him. He was standing. He was 45 feet.
45.
From home
I
plate.
remember I got to coach Mickey later, and Mickey said, like, he looked down. He goes, "Hey Pete, what you doing, man? What you doing, man? I can't bunt." He goes, "That's why I'm here." But he did. He chopped. But that's how Pete was. Yeah. And he could have hit a line drive and took his head off.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But he said, "I don't care. You ain't bunting."
Yeah.
And guess what?
He didn't bunt.
He bunt.
Yeah, it was frustrating to watch. I grew up a Yankees fan. And I was.
If you look at that tape, you go, "Hey Pete, you're kind of close, buddy."
Yeah. Oh man, those were the days. Those were the days. Growing up watching the Big Red Machine, the Red Sox in '75, Carlton Fick's home run,
everything.
Just some great memories. And again, thank you for coming in. Can't thank you enough. Thank you to everybody out there for checking in with us today. Greatly appreciate it. We're back here again tomorrow. Can't thank Valley Converting enough as well. Jordan, thank you for spending
Jordan.
Basically half your day with us here in the 9-minute Phill-Up. All right, until next time, everybody, remember there's 2 rules. Rich, there's 2 rules. Okay. Have fun and always try your best.
There you go.
You know why? If you're having fun, you're having fun. And if you're trying your best, no one's complaining.
That sounds like a Mickey Rivers quote.
Yeah. Well, and that's right before Bucky Dent stole his bat and hit the home run in '78 over the wall. Have a great one, everyone. We'll see you next time.